Buckle up. It's the Insurance Dudes Podcast.
Boom!
Ooh, a little clip in there.
I love it. We record different things now. That's not just the podcast. So we don't get to do the boom all that often. And
No.
I love the boom. I miss it.
Do you like the cars? The cars that go boom?
Yes. Craig, who do we have today?
We have David and Joe Kampert, who many think are brothers,
Yeah.
but are actually father and son. We'll leave it to the audience to guess who's who.
Yeah, Dad.
Put our names
just
up. You
shaved
put our
for the
names
first
up on the
time.
screen, okay? That's gonna be pretty. That's gonna make it pretty easy.
Okay.
Dad,
Yeah.
Dad shaved y'all for the first time, and he actually has an identical twin. Nobody else knows this either. Named Devin, and Devin shaves, and they look exactly alike. I haven't seen Dad. I mean, how long has it been, man? Probably it's got to be 10 years that I haven't seen you without a freaking goatee.
I literally just shaved this past weekend. It's the first time I've shaved in, like Joe said, probably over 10 years. But I was having, again, redhead skin. It's a thing, so I'm having some issues with my skin. So I was like, okay, I got to shave the beard off. And then I look so much like my brother. It's kind of freaking me out. I'm looking at myself and I'm like, wow, I just haven't looked like him in so long because he hasn't worn a beard. And so I'm kind of looking at myself and I'm like, wow, this is really too weird. Very weird.
So you mean up until just a little while ago, you had a beard for the last 10 years?
Absolutely. Yeah. I had the red beard, all the way. Yeah. Whole thing.
Wow.
Yep.
Well,
So
see,
this is very different.
this is new for me.
The stash. Man,
It's
you
new
got a
for me.
serious stash. Dude, that's like Tom Selleck stash. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like
Thank
full
you
stash.
once again. It's got
That's
another one.
nice, man. That's a good one.
Thank you. And you can see
You just made Craig's day.
finally something good happened. Jason's growing one. You can see it's a little stubbly down there.
Yeah,
He's
the
getting-
problem
he's getting
is
there.
It's white,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't see it as well these
And
days.
I think he updated the logo so that there's mustaches. So,
Yes. Drawn
well, cool. David and Joe Kampert, father-son duo. Let's jump in before we get into the actual meat and potatoes. Let's jump into speed breakers. Are you gentlemen ready?
We are
Put the
ready.
timer up. Put the timer up, Jason. Here we go.
Oh yeah, the timer's going.
And whoever blurts it out first, we'll move to the next one. Have either of you gentlemen ever had a mullet?
Yes.
First crush.
Alexis Warner. Gosh, don't put this live.
Most embarrassing thing your mom ever caught you doing.
Oh,
Somebody
probably
finally was.
smoking a cigarette on the toilet
In the bathroom?
my bathroom because I thought the fan. I didn't know the fan would take it downstairs, so I was like, they won't smell it. I'll have the fan running.
Oh boy, fastest speed ever driven.
Good.
Fastest what?
127.
Ooh,
Fastest
that's
speed.
good. Fastest speed. Favorite cereal.
Lucky
Cinnamon Toast
Charms.
Crunch.
How many kids?
2.
One.
Have you? Oh, hold on. Have you made cry?
Gosh. He's got me on that one. I'm too nice.
Count Chocula or Count Dracula?
Dracula.
Count
Fastest mile.
Oh, 558.
730.
Favorite flavor.
735. 735. Mine's bad.
Favorite flavor.
Grape.
Dogs or
Vanilla.
cats?
Oh,
Dogs.
Dogs all day.
Totally.
Tacos or burritos?
Burritos.
Taco.
And the last one is Trump or Biden. But you don't answer that one. That's just a joke. Let's move into the interview. Mr. Jason, take it away. Good job on speed breakers.
Let's start with you, David. Where did you? Well, actually, I'm curious, David. What was your first concert?
My first concert?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it could be as early as 2 years old. Yeah.
David Meese.
Hmm.
I don't even know who that is.
So, totally obscure. Yeah, so look, I grew up like very legalistic Christian Southern Baptist dude. So like all my concerts I was going to when I was young were literally Christian concerts. David Meese was like a Christian music artist from the 1980s that probably nobody's ever heard about unless like that was your thing like way back in the day. But yeah, that's who I was back then. So yeah, David Meese. So nobody's ever heard of this guy, man.
I don't know if
David
you see
Meese.
this in the background, but this is Stryper. I was a big Christian music fan with The Cry and there's a whole bunch.
Yeah, see, I was like Sandy Patty, Twyla Paris, like way back. I mean, like there he is.
David Meese.
Look at that man.
Look at that guy. How could you not want to go to that concert?
Right. I mean, that was like the coolest Christian dude like ever. You know, so as like some Southern Baptist kid, it's like, I want to be David Meese.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
what about you, Joe?
I think my first, I want to say it was Dave Matthews.
So the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, Dave Matthews.
Nice.
That was quite the, and then my second was John Mayer. Just watching John Mayer just be on a lot of drugs, wearing tie-dye, sweating profusely and ruining the whole concert by soloing for like over an hour.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Well, let's start with you, David. Let's go back to the old days, the old Christian concert days, and what brought you into insurance, and then hand it off to Joe, and it's when he comes into the picture.
Yeah. So way back in the day. So I graduated from college, didn't have a job, had no idea what I wanted to do, and was literally an overnight checker at a grocery store, was working at a sandwich shop all day and doing setups at my church, like working like 80 hours a week, making nothing. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, State Farm is hiring people. You want to come apply?" And so I went and applied, and I was applying. I thought I was applying for a claims position. So I'm giving all the detail, hey, I love being outside, love people, et cetera, et cetera. And then all they kept saying was, okay, so you don't want to sit behind a desk. You don't want to be inside. You don't want to. They were considering me for an underwriting spot, like something totally opposite. So I finally, I could tell I was totally blowing the interview. So I literally just stopped and said, "Hey, guys, I need a job. I have a kid. I need a job. Like I need to get a real job. I just want to work somewhere." And so they gave me a chance. So I came on, and man, I fell in love with the industry, loved helping people, and I've just been fortunate over the years. That was back in '92 when I started with State Farm. Have just been fortunate to do a lot of different things. Was actually a State Farm agent for a period of time, actually for a year. One of the most stressful things I've ever done in my life. And but it's come full circle, man, when I look at where we are today. So super excited.
That's super cool. And so David, I want to get a little bit more into the details of that. So let's go back to those the State Farm and then agent days. What was that whole story like?
Man, I tell you, State Farm, maybe more than any other carrier, they had so many requirements on us. I had PNC requirements, bank products, health products, life products, and my boys were 9 and 7 at the time. Joe was literally 7 years old, and he's going to talk about why. I don't know why he wanted to ever get into insurance, living that kind of life. But back then there were no leads, there were no lead vendors, there was no internet. I was literally in a phone book every single night. I'd start in my lead source was was literally the white pages, and I'd start in the A's, and I would just go down the column, dialing, trying to get somebody to answer the phone. And I literally was losing my family. 6 months into it, my sons, literally, I'd come home for dinner, they'd eat as fast as they could, and they would take off out the door to go play with our neighbor, just literally like not really wanting to do much with me because they were having so much fun with. And you do that, and eventually it got to the end of that, after close to the end of that year, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to make a decision. I either this agency is going to be successful or my family is going to be successful, but I'm going to have to give up one to get the other. Like I couldn't have both and do them both well. And so I left. I left State Farm and literally took a hiatus from insurance for almost 11 years when I did that.
Oh, wow.
So went to work for like a startup energy software company that a friend of mine was starting. I was literally employee number 1. and phenomenal thing. But literally, 6 years into it, the thing just kind of came to an end. And so I had to go back to something, and all I knew was insurance. So I didn't go back to State Farm, but went back to another captive carrier and got on with them and became a sales manager, managing agents in Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, and Nebraska. Ooh. Now, what was unique about that was they were actually independent agents that happened to write for this captive company. And so it was the first time that I'd really ever seen independent agents. And so I go to this office in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, in the middle of these cornfields, and here's this beautiful office, and this guy's got a $25 million book. Dad is sitting in here, son who's like in his late 20s, early 30s, literally crushing it, 15 staff people in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I had always just thought independents were like these little 1-2-man shops, not really much going on. And I saw these guys, and then I just started, as I was visiting these agencies, I started seeing these massive agencies in Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri. And I thought, you know what, if we ever do something someday, like that's absolutely what I want to do. And then that's really kind of how Joe got into the business. So Joe's in college, and then, I'm working, managing agents, and then all of a sudden he needs an internship. And that's kind of how he really got into the business.
Wow. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So how did that? So, okay. And I know you guys, spoiler alert, are independent agents. So I want to hear from Joe. How did you guys get this going? And I know you guys work together, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The dynamic duo. I gotta give y'all the fun fact first though, because the number one reason why I got in, right? So, and it's funny because Dad, the reason he left was the reason he left to like basically be a better role model to me. And I'm like, the whole reason I wanted to get into insurance was because I just wanted to be like my dad. So literally second grade, right? So some people are always like, who, and they'll ask you like at events, like raise your hand if you ever thought you were going to be an insurance agent, right? And here I am, and I just raise my hand, and they're like, normally people just stumble into it, right? Or it falls into their lap, kind of like, hey, Dad just needed a job, right? Well, second grade career fair, guess what I set up? I wanted to be an insurance agent, and I wanted to own an insurance agency in Austin, Texas. So literally in second grade, I'm like, I just want to be in insurance. I want to be just like my dad. That's what he was doing at the time. And so literally, however many years later, like 20 years later, me and Dad now run an insurance agency in Austin, Texas. Like straight up just goal achieved. Like I've been trying to do this since I was in second grade.
Wow. How long ago did
I'm insane. I'm insane.
How long ago did you open it? And did you acquire any premium, or did you just go in and start it?
Yeah, we just started scratch. Yeah, wow. I mean, we went straight scratch. So Joe went to work. Joe was a producer in an office. So like I said, he got an internship over the summer between his sophomore, junior year of college. And then he decided not to go back to college. So they offered him a full-time job. And he was in my top office in St. Louis. We were in St. Louis at the time. And he just learned great processes, great ways of doing business. And from there went on to work in some other offices that really led him to the place of like, hey, I think I might want to do this for real. And so we start talking about it. I'm like, well, hey, if you want to do something, like, hey, I'm game to do something. So why don't we just go do something together? Now, so then we start talking about it. Again, we're up in Missouri, but Joe's always wanted to be here in Austin, always wanted to be, in Texas. And so literally 2 years before we opened, I was coming to the Independent Agent Association of Texas, their annual like summer meeting. And so all the carrier reps would be there, and you'd kind of, you'd walk around the career fair or walk around the little networking, all their booths and stuff. And I'm just shaking hands and saying, hey, my name's David Kampert. I'm going to open an agency one day. I would love to have you guys be able to write you guys. Okay. Come back the next year. Now they know my name. They see my face. Oh, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah. Hey, this spring, I'm going to be opening up. I'd love to have an appointment from you guys. And I remember at that meeting, I was talking to, and I don't remember what company she was with, but she laughed at me when I told her. She said, "Hey, what MGA or what MGA or whatever thing? I don't even know what they're called because we don't even use them." She's like, who are you going to start with?" I said, "Nobody." She's like, yeah. "Okay, tell me, for real, like who are you starting?" I said, "No, I'm not. I'm going to have direct appointments." She's like, "No, you're not." I said, "Yes, I am." No, and she laughed at me, and she just kind of walked away. And it put a chip on my shoulder that I was like, okay, you know what, my God, we're going to get these appointments. And so I had a 25-page business plan, and I had a good handshake, and we started. So Safeco gave us our first deal right out of the box. I mean, we got nothing. And Safeco comes up huge. And so they gave us a direct appointment, carrier number one. So we start writing business like almost nothing that first month. Next month, we get our second carrier, and Compass comes on and says, hey, yep, we want to do it. We want to partner with you guys. And then the others just start falling into place. Here's Nationwide. Wow. And then 6 months later and 12 interviews later, we finally get our Progressive Platinum appointment. But we were just super blessed, from the beginning. And guys just don't get that. And I realize now, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know what I didn't know, how hard it should have been, or how rare that was for us to literally have no experience, no book to roll, nothing to offer them other than, yeah, we want to start an agency. And they believe us, and so 3 years later, here we are, so it's been awesome.
It's amazing, David, over and over and time again, as we talk to so many different agents and folks from other industries, the chip on the shoulder thing is such a huge driver. And it's that person who laughed at you actually was probably your biggest motivator, right? She's the reason why. And it's how grateful to her, and she doesn't even know it. So, right. And see, what you don't know about me is I'm 6'8", right? So my son is 6'6", I'm 6'8". So I played college ball. So it's when you're going to laugh at me and tell me then it's game time. It's I'm coming to the court, and it's and you're going to I almost felt disrespected, she just doubted. So it really did. You're exactly right. I mean, it gave me a lot of motivation to make this thing happen, for sure. Was there ever a point during all of this for either of you where you thought, oh shit, this isn't working, or I don't know if we can do this? Did it ever get really tough?
Whew, man. Gosh, that whole, really, I mean, the first year and a half, we were just scraping to be able to pay rent and to be able to get our people paid. And really, we weren't not even our people paid, to get me paid, just going commission only just for the health of the agency. I didn't expect a salary because, I knew we just didn't have any money. But not only did we not have money, we owed money. And we literally just pounded the phones. I would just cold call all day. We would just go, we download a list of age data. And we would, as an agency, there was 3 of us that opened up. We would all make at least 100 calls a day, 2 hours talk time, trying to sell policies, quote, but we didn't even know really. I remember when we first got Safeco, because we're coming from captive side, right? So it's you're getting trained up. They're giving you all you need, all the support, to try and sell that product. And it's Safeco's all right, you guys are on. We'll give you the direct. And then it was just all right, sweet. And they're all right, good luck. And I'm wait, what? We don't know what we're doing. Just figure it out. And so, yeah, that first year and a half was, whew. And I know Pops was focusing more on the money because he sees it all. And I remember I was just pounding the phones. That's all we could afford. Literally our phone system and age data.
Yeah. When did it start to turn? After 6 months or a year and a half, rather?
Yeah, I'd say, probably that 18 month mark, it wasn't so tight, every single month. I'm just man, I hope I can pay everybody this month. You're just great. You're just looking for the timing, the timing is everything, in those infancy stages, timing is so, literally if something's off by a month or two, we're done, there's nothing there to pay, but it just seemed like at every turn, when we needed it, it was there, just enough. And I would say probably that somewhere in that 18 to 24 month where we finally started getting into those cycles of renewals. And I knew we just had to get there. If we could just get to that second cycle and maybe that third cycle, we'd be okay. And so that we just fought. It's funny because, you think about working with your family member, and the beautiful thing about Joe and I's relationship is that I love to do stuff he hates to do, and he loves to do everything I hate to do. And so it's literally, it has been the perfect thing. I mean, it's been the perfect match.
Yeah.
I mean, I could not have asked for a better partner. And that's a huge risk. And I think I was kind of naive when I went into it, just thinking, oh yeah, we can do this. But there's a lot of times I think when you do that and it's family and then it's just personal and then it doesn't work. But man, I tell you, as a father, if you guys have kids or sons or whatever, I mean, to work every single day with my son and to know that all the time and all the energy and everything I'm investing is for him. Like I know where it's going to, so when I think about starting the scratch thing and doing all the stuff we were having to do, it like all I have to do is look down the hall. Okay, that's worth it. That's worth it. Come on, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Right.
And it's like, and that's all I needed, So in that regard, it made it easy.
And I love the story of the one, like insurance was kind of pulling the family apart, right? Which became the thing that brought you guys together, and you guys get to spend all this cool time together, and that's amazing. I want to know from Joe. I want to know, being, in the weeds on the captive side, for a couple of years, and then going into this, what was that like? And what did you learn that I want to know what you learned from both ends. So what did you learn from the captive side that really helped you excel at the indie side? And then since then, what have you learned about the indie side that maybe you didn't know?
Yeah. So it's actually funny. When I first started, I actually did almost 2 years of customer service. The agency I had joined, she already had her sales girls. They had their days for the leads that were coming in. It goes to them. I didn't have the opportunity to sell for probably the first 2 years I was in the industry, but it was invaluable. I mean, learning how to actually service a policy, because really it's all about the retention and residuals, right? It's easier to keep a policy than it is to sell a new one. So I literally, I scanned, we were just talking about this the other day. We were going, she had just acquired a book from an old timer and he was all paper and we were going paperless. So my first job was to scan, and I'm talking, I mean, it was like a row of filing cabinets, 3 levels high, like almost as big as our entire office, that I would just have to scan. And like, just for E&O purposes, like if in case they were still clients, and if they weren't, then I was having to enter them as applicants and then scan all the documents. So I literally did that. And then I handled increase calls and claims. So it was like literally, if I wasn't scanning, oh man, it was, just taking
right? Like that's what you have an intern for.
Yes, literally, it was the role of an intern. But I learned so much about the process, which I think is so important. Just that back end type stuff, and even just how to handle calling somebody and telling them their policy's increasing by 50% because their neighbors suck. They didn't do anything, but it's
right.
Your zip code's trash. And so I started in service, and then I actually my passion is coaching. So at that time, I was actually coaching lacrosse. I played lacrosse in college before I left, and I wanted to coach lacrosse, and I had a gig to be able to coach a private Catholic school. It was a paying gig, not anything crazy, but it's what I wanted to do, where I couldn't do that and also work for that agency. So it's actually funny. The next agent was a scratch agency, and he was actually in Dad's market, and he was just needing somebody to help start up. And he's like, hey, like my son, can come help you start this thing up. And it was funny because the dude was flying home from training to come interview me, and guess who he was sitting directly next to on the plane? Like my dad. So he's like, dude, I think you're interviewing my son tomorrow, So I go do that, and then literally pretty much just ran that entire office. He was very hands off, to where I was able to learn everything, literally whatever it was. And that same thing, just pounding the phone. But I didn't even have a headset. Was working, 6 days a week, if not more than that. And I would just sit there, and just dial away on that phone, man, just making calls, doing mailers. So then from that, I actually then get to plug with a big time agency. And so now I'm going from dialing out to where I have to unplug my phone at night because the leads just wouldn't stop. Right. And so that was the biggest shift, I think, in my mind, right? Because I was making nothing. at the other agency, but I was doing so much, right? And I was actually the top in the market. Everybody's all pissed off because they're like, who is this dude who's like number one, in our region now, or blah, blah, blah. And so then it goes from that to, oh my gosh, like, dude, I have to turn my phone off. I'm still working 6 days a week, just freaking grinding. But I was making a lot of money, to where then it was like, okay, like you can make a lot of money in insurance. Cool. And then I'm like, okay, but like I'm turning away like 70% of what's coming across my desk. What could I even do with one more carrier, right? So that's kind of what sparked my interest in the independent side. And then meanwhile, while I'm doing that, Pops is now, managing basically the independents who were trying to sell that captive product. So it was like, man, dude, if I can do this with one, what could I do with two? What could I do with 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And then that's really what made the shift to where, I think I learned so much in those grinding years of just, man, gosh, and I was going to go corporate. I really was. I was really good at starting up agencies. I was crushing it. I actually was helping other agents start up their agency while I was helping my guy start up his. And I'm like, man, company phone, company car, I get 80 grand starting salary. I'm like 22 years old at the time. I'm like, man, that sounds sweet. And then I get offered this other gig where it's like, man, now I'm back to the bottom of the totem pole. It's straight up sales, and I asked Dad, and that's literally, that's what I always do. If it's, man, I just don't know, dude, what should I do? And he's like, man, the Bill Gates of this world were not made in their comfort zone. I was like, dang, man. And that right there shifted my mindset where I'm like, boom, back into sales, rise through the ranks, to where now, and then that led us to the independent opportunity.
Which was that's awesome. Another time of getting uncomfortable.
Yes,
for a while.
Yep. You got to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Yeah. What happens? I'm really good at selling insurance too, so that kind of helps. So when you started, there weren't leads. You had a phone book. For the listeners who don't know what a phone book is, you can Google it. It'll probably come up. But fast forward to when you started the independent. How different was that from a marketing perspective? What was a few of the marketing strategies you'd share with our audience so that, if they're thinking about diving in and doing this themselves, they have a little bit of a arsenal? Yeah, absolutely. Night and day difference. I would say, technology alone, the way it has totally transformed this industry, is, I think, honestly, really made this opportunity possible for us. I don't know that we could do what we have done without our technology. So I would say, number one, if you're starting out, we were on a shoestring budget. We were super tight coming into this thing. So for us, it was a ton of age data. So again, it's old leads. They're not expensive. They were people at some point within within 6 months to 5 years that had been looking for insurance. And we got thousands and thousands of them. We got a lot. And that's honestly, that's really where we started. And so I think for the guy that's coming into this thing, and maybe it's a one-person shop, I would start there with age data, and then you've got to have a good CRM. So for us, we used Ricochet. We were probably one of their first independent agency customers, but it had the automated dialer changed everything for us. We would not have been able to dial the numbers that we needed to dial to get to the people we needed to get to. Without that kind of system. So you got to have some system that's really going to help you crank through those numbers. So I definitely would have done that. Now, I think if I was smarter and maybe knew more and had some money to spend, then I think I would go SEO and Facebook. I think there's definitely some gains to be had in that. And maybe even video, if you've got the money, again, to purchase the equipment and to do those kinds of things. But I think Facebook ads, and then just that organic search through, just through SEO optimization. If you've got money to spend to help to pay someone to help you do that, to really set up your site well, to do all those other kind of things, that probably would have been an easier road for us. But we didn't have the money to spend to do that. Yeah. So I think if you've got some capital, maybe you're actually getting out of a captive type situation. You're wanting to go independent, and you've got some money to spend. Like that's, I think that's where I would probably spend my dollars is doing that kind of thing. And then lastly, just Facebook. If Joe is literally everywhere on Facebook, and the number of referrals that he gets
on a monthly basis, literally just from other agents. We haven't even really tapped into, I mean, really, realtors, lenders, all this other stuff. Yeah, I mean, the number of people that just send him leads because we're in states that they're not is a lot. And he's very quick to respond. And then we take care of those people really well. And it's amazing the number of leads we get that way. So that really doesn't cost us anything but time. So that's, again, another easy way for a new agent. Get your non-resident in some states around you, so you've got more than one place to be able to write business, and then, have your Facebook up, and then, hey, when guys need somebody to write some business there, just jump in there and respond. And eventually, you didn't get them all at first, but eventually now, I mean, he can be 5th or 10th to respond, and they're still giving him the business, which is just, it's crazy.
As the people
I want to.
To be continued.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to write 100,000 in premium off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes, it's a weekly call that we're doing right now it's live, and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now, live.teledudes.com.
Live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice.
Craig, are you going to respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Wait, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it.
Nice.
All right.